All revolutions are about one thing: freedom. When one understands that they do not have to honor agreements they had no participation in, they finally understand freedom. When those agreements are forced upon others, free individuals recognize who their true enemy is. Ebon Kim. Good evening, everybody. Hope everything is well. It's been a while for me doing a live stream. It's doing a lot of research type of thing. Sorry. And of course, I started this live stream late because my wife fell asleep earlier, so I thought she went to bed, but she slept on the couch. The last episode of The Good Place was on last night, so it's able to stream the next day, so we watched that, and it was pretty good. It was probably around 45 minutes and like 10-15 minutes of like after show talking stuff. All right, so I'll do my usual thing, and let's see. Donations, I work with full disclosure and transparency. You're never going to have me charging anybody a subscription to watch specialized content or exclusive content, etc. Everything that I have is always going to be free. You can choose to donate, which some people have, and I'm grateful for, which I disclose, and I do a thank you on the first video of the month, which will be my next video. And you can donate various ways, Bitcoin or Vertcoin. It's been over 19 months since I've ever had I've never had a Bitcoin donation, actually. I've had money taken out of Patreon when I had it, and I ended it, and I gave it all to Susie Dawson when she needed it, and still nothing for Vertcoin. But I have had people donate via Google Super Chat. Hi, Kathy B, how's it going? And I had people donate via PayPal. Well, one person 3 separate times donate via PayPal.me, which I set up on September 22nd, 2019. And, I make sure to disclose all the donations I receive from the previous month and all months total. And if you don't have any money, you can always prove Globe Earth and get $15,000 from Zen Garcia. Maybe you'll donate to me a 10% finder's fee. So, I mean, if people believe that the Earth as a globe was proven over 2,000 years ago, as NASA says and government agencies say, well, it should be pretty easy to prove it in a court of law, right? Anyways, another thing, you can always join me on the show live. You can join via Zoom meeting, and you can call in. It's all toll free. It's all free. You can choose to show your face or not, or reveal your name or not, whatever. But I may put you in a waiting room if I'm talking and I keep getting interrupted, or I may ask you to just hold for a little while if I'm trying to get across something to say or going over whatever it is I'm going over. So anyways, that's it, and let's start. All right. So a lot of people have been reading about the coronavirus lately. It's all over the news. People think of the beer. But if you look at the idea of, corona as in context to how it might be related, you could say corona is a part or whatever resembling something much akin to a crown, or it's just the shape of it, right? And if you go to the etymology, and of course I'm always going to use the mainstream search engine, because everyone's I want people to know the mainstream definition of what's provided first. And of course, it originates in Latin as a wreath or a crown. and they're saying mid 16th century. It goes way before that. And then you look at the laurel leaf crowns, a wreath or a crown, whatever, and you're going to see a lot of it being provided, and you're going to recognize these as well, because those are the logos. Those are included in the logos and emblems of the World Health Organization, the United Nations. You can see the wreath, the laurel leaf crown around it, and UNICEF as well. They all seem to have it. And so if you just look into it more, you're going to see the wreath, the crown symbol, basically the prominence of it, and they talk about the Greek history about it, Apollo, and a whole bunch of other stuff, which you can go ahead and research yourself. And most of it's going to be the non-esoteric stuff. It's going to be basically in the history books. You can also look at the Masonic trowel if you want. The meaning of the laurel by Harold Maige. The laurel, commonly used in wreaths, plays an important role in the 3 Masonic Scottish Rite Southern Jurisdiction degrees, namely the 4th degree Secret Master, the 27th degree Knight Commander of the Temple, and the 32nd degree Master of the Royal Secret. But what does the laurel represent? It is interesting to note that in ancient times, a wreath of laurel was given to the victor in the Pythian Games, whereas the victor in the Olympic Games was given a wreath of wild olives, the Nemean Games a wreath of green parsley. The laurel was said to communicate the spirit of prophecy and poetry, and was seen as a purifying plant with powers of immortality. It was, therefore, common to put laurel leaves under one's pillow to gain inspiration through dreams. Today, laurel is seen as a symbol for peace and victory in the 4th degree, and the laurel signifies the hopeful expectations of success. Can't read. In the search for the true word, and is prominently displayed on the apron. The parallels to victory are thus evident in this degree. The 27th degree teaches us that the laurel symbolizes the good opinion of our brethren have for us, and again is prominently displayed on the apron. The laurel is also used in ceremony, symbolizing victory over the passions, and it's given to the candidate at the end of the ceremony. Show people what I'm reading, huh? In the 32nd degree is not explained, but probably refers again to victory being the last degree. So the idea could be that this is, and it's been kind of touted out there that it could possibly be released by the powers at large, whatever you want to call them, as the victory, the kind of like the victory maneuver, I guess. And we'll see how it plays out. Probably those looking into more of the coronavirus stuff will see people reporting on that might be like HIV injected, or kind of mimics almost exactly what a few months ago was Event 201. So yeah, just a lot of the laurel wreath crown and stuff, all that is tied into the World Health Organization, United Nations, UNICEF, whatever has whatever we're going up against, it seems. Everyone thinks, hey, look, they're there to protect us. Not really. It's very similar to what you might call the Pentagon or the White House or whatever. You think that they're there for us. No, they're not. It's just a big kind of, it's the best way to, how they say the best way to hide things is in plain sight. Well, the best place to hold your stronghold or your place of defense is within the enemy, thinking that it's their safeguard, that they need to protect it, when it's they're there to not protect you. It's they're there to cause you harm. But that's the great trick, is no one realizes it's just in their backyard, really. You can look up the occult meanings, and of course, you'll also see within the World Health Organization the staff of Asclepius and Asclepius. Sorry, people think it's caduceus, but not really, because it's just a single snake. Interestingly, it's the opposite direction, right? We always see that it's always inverted, and all this upside down stuff going on. Here you can see the staff of Asclepius, and this would be what the caduceus it looks like, where you see intertwined over wings. But anyways, those are things that you can find now. If you do more looking about all these different logos, you can see some connections to Freemasonry. And like each of these grids count up to 33, which they don't have to. Someone says, for example, why not 25? It would look almost identical. There's a motive behind idea of the 33 sections, but a lot of people kind of understand that from watching I don't know, esoteric, occult, maybe even conspiracy theory, flat earth stuff. I mean, it's most flat earthers say it's a flat earth map that they show. So the idea is, well, there's two ways to look at this. I mean, you could probably look at it multiple ways. It's whether or not the whoever they are, release this upon us purposefully or not. It doesn't matter. They had their hand in it, and what are you gonna do? And also, maybe the other idea is, no, they didn't. It was just nature. It was natural. Somehow this happened, and well, they're just doing a piss poor job of protecting everybody if it's gonna be a pandemic. And so, whichever way you look at it, another, I guess a third way you could be is all these other times, in order to gain a lot of trust, is we've had a lot of different epidemics in the past, and they always seem to come through and resolve everything. Right. We've had multiple viruses, coronaviruses, and all these things that were deadly, and they've always been contained, and everything was all right. Everybody trusts them now because they pulled through finally. And well, either they're gonna contain it and they're gonna say, hey, they pulled through, or they're not, and they go, hey, so what happened? It's like, well, this is one we weren't ready for, type of thing. And there's been a lot of people who worked for CDC, which I'm pretty sure is involved pretty well for with the World Health Organization as well. Mysterious deaths and things like that. And look, people think that there are going to be whistleblowers. How could they hide this? I mean, people would have said something. Well, sometimes people say something, and well, no one gets the word out. Someone says something, and maybe the word does get out, but then it's just another conspiracy theory, so no one believes it. And maybe the word gets out, and something weird happens to them, and most people say, it's just a coincidence. Maybe someone says something privately, and the word gets leaked out, but like who was the leaker, type of thing. And then who is gonna want to leak stuff? I mean, you grow up in society, and if you say something that someone else is doing that they should be doing, call them a tattletale. And I even corrected my wife onto it. She goes, don't be a tattletale, Leela. And it's like, no, it's fine. If someone's doing something bad, you should tell somebody, because they could hurt themselves, they could hurt someone else, etc. And she kind of thought of it as like, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't make fun of people, and especially kids who do that, because when you're growing up, if some person or organization or agency or whatever is doing something they shouldn't do because they could hurt someone, kill someone, or whatever, it should be known. You should tell somebody so they could do something about it, so no one gets hurt. And so that's with the coronavirus. We'll see how it happens, but a lot of this is like, what's the meaning of a revolution now? The meaning of a revolution, this could be in context with the coronavirus. Who knows? There's always something that has to break for people to actually do something to try to change the system, and they realize the system is unchangeable, and they go, well, why is the system unchangeable? And so that's where the revolution begins, the war, whatever you want to call it. It's a way to course correct, I guess you could say, because the system in itself doesn't care. Its whole object of being a system is to not deviate from the way it does things. It has its set ways and expects everything to follow those set ways. And when you finally realize that it's a system of slavery, or it's in the slaving system, corrupt or not, even in the best case scenario, it's still, even if its intention was good, it's not necessarily good overall, and that's what we have to find. And once we find it, we have to go through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations, etc., to let people know, hey, this ain't good. We gotta change this. I mean, why are we doing this? It's not very smart or effective or efficient, etc. And people who are not quite rebellion, Kathy B. A revolution. Let's look at the definitions that are provided by the mainstream dictionaries. War is a state of armed conflict between different nations or states, or different groups within a nation or state. Doesn't necessarily state war can be fought with agencies, organizations, whatever. It's just, they limit it. Revolution, a forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system, type of thing. And the one aspect, like in my quote of the day, is a revolution. It always focuses on one thing, which is freedom. And the only way you can realize that you're not free and how you are free is by recognizing that there are these agreements that have been made without your participation, whether it was before you were born or whether you were born and you didn't have enough knowledge in order to participate in it, or you are alive and you could participate in it, but you're not allowed to participate in it, or anything else to that effect. So basically, that makes up the majority of everything, whether it's paying taxes, needing licenses or needing insurance, all of that stuff. These are all agreements that were made for you to follow, forcibly to follow as well, without your participation in it. And what is that akin to? That's basically slavery. It's like, hey, you're the stories that we have of slavery in the United States. Well, if you were black and you were born into a place of slavery, well, you didn't have a choice in it, right? You're just born as a slave. And basically they told you to do this, you have to do this, or this happens, you have to do this, whatever. And that's slavery. You have no say in it. You didn't have any participation in all the agreements that were set forth for the things that were the way they were. And so revolutions occur over that. And the revolution is to free yourself from that system to create a new system. And so the idea is we probably had a new system after the American Revolution. It's just a lot of people go, well, we'll just call it the same thing, but we'll just have a new system in place, type of thing. So there's that idea. Now, the thing is, there was probably a good amount of revolutions occurring during the 50s, 60s with the civil rights movement and things like that, which is a good thing. And so we haven't had anything like that for a while. I mean, ever since the 60s and 70s, you know, all of that stuff that happened. We've the Generation Xers all the way to the present millennials, whatever you call what Gen Yers these days. I don't even know. They haven't participated in having a say with anything that has come up, and it's kind of a bad thing, right? It's how can we say this? I mean, say me and my family and a couple of friends that we know say, hey, this stranger over there owes us $100,000. Go, wait. The guy goes, wait, I don't owe you $100,000. We go, no, you do. You're obviously wealthy. You can afford it, and you know it's in this agreement here. It's like the other guy's going, what agreement? I didn't agree to this. I didn't participate in any of this. And we're going, but it's in this agreement. I mean, it doesn't matter if you participate in it. It's in this agreement right here. The guy's going, I ain't giving you $100,000. And then suppose we forced, we took away stuff, or you know, we killed him or whatever, injured him, and you know, coerced him to giving us $100,000 or death as a result, whatever. And then, well, people go, well, why did that happen? Why did you guys do that? Well, he wasn't participating in this agreement. It's like, well, the agreement didn't have him say that's what was going to be the result if he didn't do that. He also didn't have a say in it. So, you know, why would you expect for him to follow that agreement? I mean, if you think about it in that context, you can't really fault the logic there. And so, therefore, people who are forced, coerced, whatever, things taken away. I mean, you guys have things taken away all the time. And it's in these agreements. And you guys didn't have a say in that agreement, nor did you say you would participate in it. But if you don't participate in it, they have it within those agreements saying this is what's going to happen to you. And you're like, that sounds fishy. Why is this going on? Many of you guys don't even question it. You guys don't even think about it. You guys go, that's just the way it is usually the most known expression. So that's the meaning of revolution, is freedom. Finding out that you are free because you don't want to honor agreements which you had no participation in, and therefore, you know, it's not valid. And how do we, and if that's the system that we're in, well, it's time for a revolution, right? You want freedom, you're going to have to create a new system. System obviously isn't working for anyone. It's probably working for a few, and probably within the system, and then everyone sees it, even in mainstream news, mainstream media, old news, whatever you want to call it. You see time and time again the people who are placed within the system hierarchy, the social structure, whatever, they can do things and get away with it. It's like tap on the wrist, really. It's like, yeah, okay. They still have millions or whatever sidled away. Their longest stint in prison is probably like a year, and sometimes it's like, how bad is that prison that they're staying in? Heck, maybe they're not even in prison. How would anyone really know? No one gets to report on them. It's like, hey, I'm an independent journalist. Can I have an interview with this person who's serving a year in prison? And systems can be like, no, this person has to serve his time. You could probably have an interview with them afterwards if you want, and of course the person's not going to want to interview you, or you know, just so many things like that in this world that we're living in. So yeah, I think it comes up to the point where people are going to say, look, this system was designed not for me. And it's a system of slavery, and you know, if you don't think it's a system of slavery, look, and you're not going to be able to have a conversation with these people who are upholding the system. It's not possible. They tell you, this is the system, this is what happened, this is what you did, this is what you're going to have to, this is what they're going to do to you. Got no say in it, and therefore it's a system of slavery. And just because you can't say anything about it, or bargain, or whatever, create a fair system, whatever, change it, update it, talk to somebody saying this isn't correct. It's not going to happen. You have to get a group of people and to say, no. That's not how it works. That's not how it should work. That's not how it actually worked in the past. And it didn't work in the past. The reason why it didn't work in the past is, it takes like one person is going to shake another person's hand. The other person doesn't. You don't have a handshake. I mean, how do you create an agreement without the other person's participation? It's like you don't have an agreement. This is one group or whatever person saying we had an agreement. The other guy goes, we had no agreement. And also, if it's kind of funny when you think about it, there's so many ways we can discuss a lot of these things, but one way that they do things is someone becomes a representative of a group or a nation or a tribe or a group of tribes or whatever. And they go, you're that representative. Do you represent blah, blah, blah? And that person goes, yes, I represent blah, blah, blah. And therefore, whatever that agreement with was, who was a representative of a whole group of people, and there are individuals within that group are saying, hey, that person don't represent me. Doesn't matter. They're going to say, this person represented you. It's like, I didn't participate in saying that was the case. See how it gets down to all of this stuff. It's like, say there's a U.S. representative within your district and they voted on something. And it's like, look, you have to follow the law. Your legislator, he's your representative. He voted on this. It's like, he didn't represent me. Right? I didn't agree to it. I'm not participating in it. And then they go, well, you're going to have to. It's the law. That's how they get you every time. So, it's just funny how these things are. We all grew up saying, follow authority. They know what they're doing. They're doing things for the benefit of you, etc. They don't. They do the things for the benefit of themselves. That's why they set up the system. People outside the systems, they just want to be left alone. Just about everybody. They go, I didn't agree to all this stuff. I don't want any of this. Everyone needs something to drink, something to eat, clean air, whatever, a place of shelter. People can create that in many places. There's room. There's so much room out there. But all that room is cordoned off. They go, you can't go there. It's part of a farm or ranch, that's trespassing. It's like cows can roam anywhere within that area. You're saying I can't live there? No, you can't. Whose idea was that? Oh, it's a bunch of agreements that you participated in. That's a lie, because you didn't participate in it. Well, I didn't participate in it. I didn't have a say in it. Well, that's too bad. Other people had a say in it. It's very straightforward, everybody. It's the whole meaning of revolution is freedom, and you are not free, because the system has been made up of agreements which you had no participation in. And if you don't want to participate in it, it doesn't matter. They force you to participate. Otherwise, they do things in which you have no say in it, which you have no say in it in the first place. So therefore, what are you? You are a slave. You're a slave to the system. But that's fine. You don't have to be a slave. You don't have to be a slave to the system. And if they take things from you, the only thing they can really take from you is your life. And if they take your life, it doesn't matter anymore, because when they take your life, you don't have any need for any material things. You didn't have any need for any material things in the first place, except to survive, to live in the material world. But there's a little bit more to that, and it gets into the metaphysical, spiritual, maybe part, but it's all infused. It's all pieced together. You can't have one without the other, and who knows? I think there's a few people that know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. And it always gets to that point. And you're not going to find out from anybody what really is going on. Because I think once they're at that point, it's like, you know what? You're going to just have to find out on your own type of thing. And then it's either way, it's always still hard to trust people. No matter what, there's always someone within the system or outside the system, whatever, it's always trying to trick you. They're always trying to get something out of you. It's like, why bother with me? And it's always funny because it's like, you know, like I could point you to a place that has a lot more money and pretty horrible security. You could bypass that security. Same way you bypass mine. There's more in it for you. There's really nothing here. So why focus on me? Don't focus on you. It doesn't make sense. And you'll find a lot of things in this world doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think it does in context where you might actually have to start looking, investigating, and you realize, well, great. I mean, yeah, it's obvious, but still, I mean, so many weird things that happen. But anyways, focus, pay attention to what's going on. But remember, there's always, it appears to be 3 layers to everything. 3 seems to be a weird number, magic number, Masonic number, whatever. Whoever, they probably took it, you know. 3's been around since whenever counting started or whenever things existed. There was a numerical system accounted to, whatever. But people go, oh, that's a what's it called number. Oh, that's a Masonic number. That's a witch's number. That's a devil's number. That's the heavenly number. That's whatever. There's always some type of term someone wants to take on their own, right? And we could talk about that in the future. But basically, coronavirus, it's probably like their victory type of event that they're kind of going. I mean, if you think about it, if you think of these world leaders as like really helpful, good people in this world, and of course things are always getting worse. Or I mean, like they presented Event 201 to look like, hey, how would we solve this pandemic if it occurred? In retrospect, it's probably the opposite. They're going, all right, we got our systems in place, and if a pandemic occurred, how fast would it happen? What would be the result? And it's like, that looks good. Let's do it. Let's run it. Let's have it happen for real. They're probably like that. I mean, they go, well, we'll probably lose billions. It's like, well, people will lose billions. People who aren't affected aren't going to lose nothing. And again, majority of people think that recession is bad, and it is for the majority of people. But the small minority of people who are already wealthy and stuff, they love recessions because people lose a lot of money, they gain a lot of money because they can have their holdings somewhere else, and once all the prices go down, they buy it all up, and all of a sudden it goes up again. They're wealthier than ever, and all the people who were trying to become wealthy become poor because what else are you supposed to do with your money? If you hold it in cash, well, they got a what do you call that term, where everything costs more, inflation, what have you, and then of course your money's gonna be worthless. You invest in it in stock and all this other stuff. Well, things go bad. Well, all of that's kind of bad, but then things will get good again, but you've already lost it unless you held out. And sometimes if you hold out, that doesn't mean they force your shares to be sold, etc. It's halved, whatever. And then you could probably place some of your stuff in commodities, which is probably a good bet, but not necessarily solid. Although it has been reasonable within the last couple of decades, if not centuries. But all of this is just, it doesn't matter. If they can take away whatever you have, whenever they want, if you're willing to give it up. And it's because it's in these agreements that they had without you being a part of that agreement. They always change these agreements anyways, terms and agreements. I mean, everywhere that you go, even on the internet, there's the terms and agreements, right? You follow their terms and agreements, or else you don't get to use any of that stuff. And if you do use that stuff and, well, you're terminated, etc., even if you weren't doing anything against those terms and agreements, within those terms and agreements, the price said, well, you're subject to the whims of whatever they say because you're agreeing to their terms. And you didn't have any participation in whether or not you actually agreed to those terms or not. I ramble a lot. Anyways, I just wanted to have this out there. Coronavirus, all the symbolism is there. It's with it. It's just in plain sight. People are just trying to use those weird anagrams or whatever. Carnivorous doesn't make sense at all. All you have to do is just look at the symbolism. They think the symbols are powerful. They are in some ways, and they aren't, because the symbol of something, symbolization of something, isn't the real thing. It's just a representation of it, right? And that in itself isn't powerful. It's the actual thing that it's trying to represent. That's the source. Anyways, there's more that I wanted to talk about, which I'm not prepared to share yet because I haven't figured out what exactly it leads to. But I've been diving, for people interested, I've been diving into Korean mythology, and it's a lot of the ancient mythology, and it does share similarities. It does have a flood myth, the mythologies that they have. Like if you look across the mythologies of every culture, country, whatever, it's all related. It's all there. It's just presented differently, and the similarities are striking. How it can be have such resemblance to other cultures, mythologies, and stories. I mean, that's all mythologies are, just stories. And it's pretty cool. And so I kind of want to share some of the stuff from the Korean mythologies and how it relates to others. Except it's hard because a lot of these Korean mythologies were always passed orally, traditionally, and not written down. And it was written down maybe a couple centuries ago, maybe 12th, 13th century. And so a lot of stories can change over all these millennia, passed down from to the younger generations. And of course, a lot less now because everything's doesn't get handed down, passed down as much. But even the Korean ancient mythologies have been around, maybe even before the Babylonian mythologies and Egypt and Mayan and stuff like that. So they've been along just as long time, if not longer, just not in written form. So something that I've been trying to piece together along with a lot of other things. But sometimes these things are just kind of like Ebon might want to look into this. I don't know why. It just time to go back. Time to take another look at it. Hey, Treeland Truth. So stay tuned. That will probably be my next video. The revolution, the meaning of revolution is very important. The coronavirus, how it links to the logos and the emblems for the World Health Organization and United Nations and UNICEF and probably a couple others. It's all there. So just kind of, it's all easy to figure out. It's just like all we're given are just these entities. We don't get names. Like, who runs the World Health Organization? Nobody really knows. Who runs the United Nations? No one quite really knows. It's like, who sets up the who really handles everything? Who's, I mean, even the head of whoever these organizations are for like a period of years, no one really knows their name. It's just like, I don't know. No one pays attention. They get interchanged so much. And yeah, no problem. Streeling truth. All right. Anyways, that's all I really had for anyone. Hopefully everyone has a good weekend. Just think and question, and every time you question, also just I would add in, when did you ever have that participate in whatever agreement that they're telling you to do? Anything at all. That's all you have to do. So just ask that question. Hey, when did I participate in this? When did I agree to this? And then you realize, heck, you didn't. Have a good weekend.